FTA brings me to another question, and that is the question about the Indian companies, prominent Indian companies, Indian entities working in Turkey, and the Turkish companies working in India. How many? How many big companies are there in that country, Indian companies, and in Turkey, and in India, Turkish companies? How do you say about that?
This is another area for growth, in the sense that we have a number of companies on both sides that have made good investments. Of course, I'm sure you don't want me to name their names,
no.
But they are big, visible companies, and they're doing very good service in both directions. But we need to work closer with our Indian counterparts. India and Turkey have to work more closely in terms of showing the potential of investing in each other. For instance, for Indian businesses, especially ones who have the capabilities, Turkey is the ideal manufacturing and management base in their operations towards Europe, the entire Mediterranean basin, well, the African littoral, the Russian and the Central Asian basin, and not to mention the Middle East. You would note that quite a few of the multinational, the biggest of the multinational companies, have already located their HQs to Turkey because of this. And now several UN bodies are moving to Istanbul. Because Istanbul is a place where you have about 360 degrees of visibility of a very, very vast, very, very important neighborhood. To our right, we have the 70% of the world's hydrocarbon resources. To our left, we have the European Union, which is among the top economies in the world. And to our south, we have the very large Mediterranean basin with direct access to most parts of Europe. And Europe and Turkey are very well integrated in terms of the railroads and of course the motorways, and of course the air connectivity is there. Turkish Airlines has the most connections in the world among any company in the world, and they have, for instance, 63. They fly to 63 more cities than their closest competition in India. So,
what about flying to India?
Well, flying to India, it's the same thing. There is only one company that is operating directly between Turkey and India. That is the Turkish Airlines. It flies together with Air India. It shares code. The flights are full, and it's only one a day, only from two cities, Delhi and Mumbai. And this is while the tourism flows are increasing by no less than 20% every year. And Turkey offers a tremendous connectivity to India, various cities of India actually, more so than any competition.
Okay, so Mr. Ambassador, you were talking of tourism and 29% growth in tourism annually between India and Turkey. So now, given the great cultural overlap between the two countries, historical cultural overlap between India and Turkey, how do you look at increasing this, the promotion of tourism between the two countries, given this cultural overlap, given the educational, cultural exchange programs are there? So how do you look at this promotion of tourism?
I think it's very important, but before I answer this, let me highlight one thing. Of course, because our relationship is very ancient, it has. I've been observing that also information has been left back in the ancient times about each other.
Okay, not reinvented.
Well, not. We don't know really much each other. I come across occasional remarks that brings to mind that Turkey is not very well known.
Yeah.
The modernity of Turkey is not well known. People don't realize it that, for instance, Turkish companies are some of the most competitive in the world. They are parcel of the customs union. So basically, the day a Turkish company is born, it has to be able to compete on equal terms with any European company. of in its standing. So basically, we're looking at a very extremely mature market and very professional set of companies and a very up-to-date legislative framework. So and this goes. This stretches from economics to many other areas. So there is perhaps people don't realize that Turkey is among the top 6 countries in the entire world in terms of tourism. We receive close to 40 million tourists every year. So basically we know the tourism business and we want to cooperate very closely with India in the tourism sector. Our airlines can bring so many more tourists to India, and our companies can bring up the tourism capacity and flow into India. And there's tremendous potential there. We have a joint working group on tourism, and we want to make use of that, and we want to make use of the VVIP visits as well. The annual growth of around 20% has only brought the number of Indians visiting Turkey to 120,000, which is nothing if you compare it to some 39, 40 million inbound tourists to Turkey. 120,000 Indians is very small market, but the potential is there. And we have to work on this.
It has to be harnessed and reinvented, basically.
Yes, and for this, there are a couple of things necessary. One is we have to update the information we have each year. Basically, for instance, there is no Indian journalist stationed in Turkey. 100 years ago, there were many Indian journalists stationed in Istanbul. 100 years later, India is totally reliant on some international, multinational news agencies for getting information, for instance, about Turkey. Therefore, the knowledge base is very, very narrow. We have very good programs in terms of teaching Turkish. There are 2 universities, Jamia and JNU, teaching Turkish. But we need actually more universities joining in the ranks. We need to reach out and understand each other, and then the potential will be as clear to everyone else as it is to me.